The opposition.
It's like a parallel universe every time the NDP leader stands up and attacks the very government he's a part of and laments.
Yeah, there you go, Pierre.
For Canadians, after 2 years of him being part of voting for quadrupling the carbon tax, driving up inflationary deficits, and of course driving 2 million people to the food banks in a single month. He blames greed for all this hunger. He's right. It is the greed of Liberal and NDP politicians who keep taking more and more from Canadians. Will they reverse these disastrous policies, Mr. Speaker?
Man, I love how he calls it out like that.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
All of us in this House see how Canadians are struggling. We just have different responses to it. The Conservative Party is proposing cuts to government services, cuts to investments that are going to support seniors, cuts to investments that are going to support families, whether it's dental care or child care. The Conservative Party thinks you can cut your way to prosperity when the reality is, Mr. Speaker, our investments in child care, in dental care, in supports for seniors, in supports for students have actually helped Canadians through some difficult times and will continue to be there for them into the coming years.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
Being there for Canadians, he's taking money out of their pockets. And if you don't believe me, listen to the Governor of the Bank of Canada, who said, and I quote, "Today, government spending will be adding to demand more than supply is growing. And in an environment where we are trying to moderate spending and get inflation down, that is not helpful." That adds to the voices of the former Liberal Finance Minister John Manley, who accused this Prime Minister of pressing on the inflationary gas pedal. Will the Prime Minister tell us, does he agree with the bank governor that his government spending is not helpful on inflation?
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know we need support and we need more supply on the housing crisis, and that's why we are there investing with municipalities to deliver more housing. In Brampton, our housing agreement will spur the construction of more than 24,000 homes over the next decade. That's an investment that the Leader of the Opposition would cut. In other cities like Richmond Hill, Moncton, and Ajax just this week are passing more ambitious housing plans at their local councils in response to the federal housing accelerator. While the Leader of the Opposition would rip up these agreements, we're focused on building solutions that'll work for communities right across the country.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
The question wasn't about his housing photo ops. The question was about the rate of inflation and its link to government spending. And I quote the Governor of the Bank of Canada on this point today, and I quote, "Government spending will be adding to demand more than supply is growing. And in an environment where we are trying to moderate spending and get inflation down, that is not helpful." Right. He's now clearly saying that government spending is driving up inflation. So very simple question. Does the Prime Minister agree with the bank governor that deficits are driving inflation? Yes or no?
It's Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, I guarantee.
Except, Mr. Speaker, that inflation is steadily coming down, Mr. Speaker, even as we continue to sign agreements with communities across the country. And by the way, if the opposition leader cared so much about getting more homes built, he would support our Affordable Housing and Groceries Act. This legislation will remove the GST on the construction of rental homes, which housing advocates and developers have described as a game changer. That's the relief that Canadians need. So let's keep moving these important measures forward, and let's keep getting Canadians the housing relief they need instead of political attacks and cuts from the Conservatives.
I'd like to remind all members, please, to wait your turn to take the microphone. I know that some members are very enthusiastic, but there are other members who are certainly going to be asking their questions. The honourable member, the honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's very determined to avoid discussing the growing evidence of the link between his deficits and the inflation Canadians pay. So let's review what the bank governor said today. He said, 1, inflation risks are rising. 2, that inflation won't get back to target until the year 2025, 2 years out. And 3, the bank is now leaving its door open to further rate hikes, probably spurred on by the deficits of this government. With mortgage payments up 150%, for God's sakes, won't he get rid of these inflationary deficits so that Canadians can keep their homes?
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, what the Leader of the Opposition is proposing is to cut spending and supports for Canadians in the hopes that Canadians will somehow do better that way. We disagree. What Canadians need is greater investment in supply of housing, for example. That's why through our agreements, we're unlocking new homes and opportunities for growth in the city of Hamilton by spurring the construction of thousands of homes over the next decade, like we are across the country. The Mayor of Hamilton actually said our housing agreement was absolutely a big deal, and I couldn't agree more. When we work together with a strong and ambitious plan, we can get more homes built faster. While the Leader of the Opposition's plan would see these agreements ripped up and stalled, we will keep going forward to help Canadians.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
You know one word he never used in that big rambling, read-off answer? Done. Because none of those houses are done. They're all promises. But he's been promising to build affordable homes for 8 years. Since he first made that promise, housing costs have doubled, and none of the promises have come to fruition. Yes, other levels of government have politicians that are thrilled to have more money to bloat their bureaucracies. When will he realize that we don't make housing affordable by building bureaucracy? We have to build homes.
That is true.
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, we are working hand in hand with municipalities across this country, whether it be Kelowna or Hamilton or Ajax or now Halifax, where we're continuing to move forward with investments that are going to respond to people. And I have to say, I was in Brampton just last week, Mr. Speaker, and as we were making another announcement about new homes coming up, we were standing on the site of a building that we announced 2 years ago that was opening its doors to new residents today. Mr. Speaker, this is what we are doing. After that member was housing minister who got nothing done, we're there to invest in Canadians and build a stronger future.
Wow. You don't see Trudeau get mad that often. Throwing a little tantrum. Drop a like on the stream, everybody. Now's the time.
Speaker, he has the best photo ops in the history of photo ops. We'll give him credit for that. He wants to know what I got done when I was housing minister. The average rent was $950. It's now over $2,000. When I was housing minister, the average mortgage payment was $1,400. It's now well over $3,500. When I was housing minister, the average needed down payment was $20,000, and you could own a home on average by 29. Now those numbers have skyrocketed. I deal in the world of results. He deals in the world of photo ops. I know which ones Canadians prefer.
Whoa! There you go. Tensions are pretty high in the House today.
Honorable Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, while he continues to insult and slag cities and municipalities across this country, we're going to continue to work with them, like we're working with the City of Halifax to build more homes so locals can thrive in their community. Recently, we announced an agreement with Halifax to fast-track 2,600 permitted units over the next 3 years, spurring the construction of thousands of homes over the next decade. But he wants to talk about what happened when he was housing minister. When he was housing minister, he announced $300 million and got 99 homes built, Mr. Speaker. That's his record as housing minister. We're building homes right across
He's going to pop a blood vessel.
Real, Mr. Speaker.
Wow.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
Mr. Speaker, there are plenty of ways to protect people who are unintentionally forced to participate in terrorist groups. That's what we do with all the listed banned terrorist entities that are already on the list. Right. So those tools already exist. The Prime Minister has had 8 years. 8 years. He is not worth the cost. He is not worth the risk to our safety. Will he adopt the common sense conservative proposal to criminalize the IRGC terrorist group today? Yeah.
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, no one in this House disagrees that the Iranian regime is murderous, is a sponsor of terror, is bloodthirsty against people around the world and indeed against its own citizens. I remember well having held in my arms families of the victims of PS 752, brokenhearted because of what this murderous regime is capable of doing against its own citizens, let alone against citizens around the world. That is why we've continued to pursue every available means to hold the Iranian regime to account, to support people fighting for freedom in their country, to support Iranian Canadians, and we will continue to do just that.
Avant que je passe au député de Davenport.
Before I move on.
Thanks for watching the video to the very end. If you'd like to subscribe, I've made it very easy. You can do so by clicking right there. If you'd like to watch another House of Commons highlight clip, you can do so by clicking right there. And if you'd like to subscribe to my main channel, Mistersunshinebaby, where it's all Canadian political news, then you can do so by tapping up there. Subscribing is absolutely free. There's a button down below that says subscribe. If you'd like to join and become a member and financially contribute, you could do so as well. Thank you so much for watching this video.